Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm watching the tube map nearly looked very different by Mapmen. I know absolutely nothing about the tube map or why it looks the way it looks, so let's watch it.
The tube map is an icon of London, just like Big Ben, the Tower of London, the London Eye and M&M's World.
Is it really?
It's instantly recognisable to locals and tourists alike, known and loved and parodied all over the world. With a new version coming out every few months, some people are properly obsessed with the tube map, with vast collections, and can spot the subtlest of differences between different versions. Ugh, look at them. Massive bunch of
All
nerds.
of that.
But don't take this map for granted. This map very nearly looked very different, and the London it's a map of might have looked very different as a result. So, what is the story behind this map?
In the mid-19th century, when privately run underground railway lines first started popping down all under London, the only maps of them available were the ones published by the private companies themselves, showing their own services in clear bold, and rival services, if they felt like it, in narrow, faint lines they didn't want you to notice.
Because rival companies were often competing for the same passengers, they very often went out of their way to be uncooperative.
This circular route was operated by two rival companies who hated each other. The Metropolitan Railway ran trains clockwise, and the confusingly similarly named Metropolitan District Railway ran trains anti-clockwise.
Oh my god, that's...
If you wanted to go just one stop but you bought your ticket from the wrong booth, you had to go the long way round the circle. And there were plenty more examples of uncooperativeness where this came from. For example, if you wanted to change trains at Bank Station, you had to take the lift up to the street, cross the road, buy another ticket, and then take the lift all the way back down again.
London's underground railways could have been so much more useful and attracted so many more passengers if they were all run together as a coordinated system. But it would take someone with a colossal bank account to make that happen.
Fortunately for Londoners, in 1902 that someone came along, in the form of ambitious American railway tycoon Charles Tyson Yerkes, who had a colossal bank account, a colossal moustache, and a wife called Gutteridge.
This is my wife.
Who also looks colossal.
Tell him your name.
Gutteridge.
Charles's very American idea was to run a railway network, a group of lines stretching in all directions across the city, where with one ticket you could start your journey on one line and end it on another.
So he set up a company called
the private
Underground
companies
Electric
did it.
Railways of London, or UERL for short, or UERL for shorter. With all the money he'd piled up, he went on an underground railway shopping spree, including 4 lines that hadn't even been finished yet.
By November 1905, Charles Yerkes was the proud owner of the Charing Cross, Euston and Hampstead Metropolitan District, Great Northern, Brompton and Piccadilly, Baker Street and Waterloo Railways. And by December 1905, he was dead.
With the very shrewd move of dying, he avoided having to pay back any of the huge debts he'd built up. But his dream of creating an underground network in...
Wait, but wouldn't those debts go just to the rest of his family? Unless he didn't have any. Maybe he didn't have kids. Who cares? He's over 100 years dead, it doesn't matter anymore.
...in London had come true. The UERL was a properly integrated system with common ticketing and station buildings that looked really similar. And a proper network needed a proper map.
And so, in 1908, the UERL published this.
The first map that showed all the underground lines in London mapped on one map, including the ones UERL didn't own. It had some really handy innovations. Each line was given equal thickness, and each line was given a different colour, features that are familiar to us today, even if the colours aren't too familiar.
The Piccadilly line in yellow!
This complete map of the whole network was very useful, but it wasn't.
I refuse to believe there's actually people who care so much about the tube map. I'm sorry, but who would waste their time on something like this?
It wasn't very easy to read.
With all the tube lines and roads and landmarks and Army and Navy and auxiliary stores, it was a messy clutter with too much information and looked like a plate of spaghetti.
The problem was, the task of creating a map of the whole network that was both useful and easy to read was a notoriously difficult one.
Lots of companies at this time published their own maps of London's network, each with their own approaches, some of them bonkers. This one's my favourite, the Wonderground map by Max Gill, simultaneously incredibly detailed and incredibly completely useless.
Yeah, where's all the railways? Okay.
Incredibly detailed and incredibly completely useless.
Mapping the entire system was only about to get even difficulter.
Jesus!
By the early 20s, the London Underground had begun sprawling uncontrollably out in all directions into the distant suburbs. To help manage this growth, the UERL appointed a new head of publicity, Frank Pick.
Pick was obsessed with the tube's corporate identity, the notion that the whole system should feel more togethery.
It was Pick's idea for every station to have a roundel, the iconic logo with the red circle and blue line, and for every sign to use the same font with the perfectly round O's and the little diamonds.
What the hell is this? Trust us, just wait for the lift like everybody else.
For dots above the eyes, and to commission all those lovely posters that your middle-class friends have in their kitchens.
Most importantly, Pick wanted every leaflet and every poster on every train, on every platform, in every station to use the same map design. And so, in search of the perfect map, Pick turned to a designer named, all together now, Frank Stingemore. Ah!
Frank Stingemore's map from 1924 used the River Thames as a geographical reference and nothing else. No roads, no landmarks, no nothing.
That's a pretty good idea.
Just a plain beige background.
With easiness of reading at the top of Stingemore's priority list, his map did something that was basically cheating.
To fit all the detail in, Stingemore took the naughty shortcut of not bothering to draw the distant suburbs to scale. For example, these stations on what we now call the Northern Line were bunched dishonestly together in a totally fictional straight line.
But the thing is, though, that's the thing. The thing is, this is the thing. The thing is, this didn't matter.
That's
For
true.
passengers trying to get from
Doesn't really matter if you make them like this on the map, because you'll arrive at your destination anyway. If you want to go to Burnt Oak, it doesn't matter if it's a straight line or not on the map. You'll get there either way. It's just a reference to see what is where.
Station A to Station B, this map still served its purpose perfectly well. Unless you were driving the train, why did you need to know the exact length or exact bendiness of each bit of track?
You didn't.
Come to think of it, even if you're driving the train, you don't really need to know that.
Yeah, you
either,
still
do you?
don't.
Frank Pick was very happy with Stingemore's
Because
map,
you're on the
and
track.
the public were happy with it too.
Stingemore's innovation had shown that a map could still be useful even if the scale was distorted. And it was this concept that inspired another designer to do something even more radical. And his name was...
Is it Harry Beck?
It's got to be.
It wasn't last time.
I think it's Harry Beck.
Should we say Harry Beck?
No, it's not Harry Beck.
I think it is this time.
Let's say
Harry Beck.
Henry Charles Beck, known as Harry to his no friends, was a 29-year-old technical draftsman working at UERL. It was his job to draw up diagrams of the tube's signalling systems. And then it wasn't his job anymore when he got made redundant in 1931.
Oh,
Harry must have really missed his old job, because after leaving the UERL, he spent his spare time working on an extremely nerdy work-related project.
He nerdily imagined what it would look like if all the stations on the London Underground were represented connected like in a circuit diagram. He'd seen strip maps of individual lines that totally ignored geography. How hard could it be to combine them all together?
so he just does all of
While
that.
Stingemore's approach was to be a little bit naughty with scale, Beck's approach was that scale could absolutely go itself.
Harry drew the entire network using only straight lines that were vertical, horizontal, or at 45 degrees. Here's one of his rough drafts where he rubbed out lines and replaced them with straighter ones. When he finally finished, it looked like this. An elegant, colourful design.
Do people actually look at these maps? How many people actually use this map when they're traveling somewhere? Anyone from Britain? Does anybody know? I mean, really, all you have to do is know where you want to go to and get off once the train gets to that point. I don't know, man.
design, with the stations in central London spaced evenly apart and the suburban stations bunched up close together. No opportunity was missed for symmetry, equal spacing, and parallelity. If you compare his design to a scale map, you can see just how not to scale and frankly mad it was.
Harry's so-called journey planner was not a map, it was a diagram. But for the very specific job it was trying to do, a diagram was better than a map. By totally ignoring the concept of scale, he was able not only to fit all the stations in, but to make it much easier to read than Stingemore's map. It also gave the impression of a cohesive, comprehensive, coordinated, connected system. It also looked awesome.
Harry was very pleased with himself, and a thought occurred to him. This should be the official map for London transport. Frank Pick is going to love this.
He's gonna hate
And
it.
so, later in 1931, Harry marched
He will
back into
hate
the
it.
offices of the UERL, which was now called London Transport, to show his diagram to Frank Pick. But Harry was wrong. Frank Pick didn't love Harry's map at all.
Yup.
Pick refused to publish Beck's map on the grounds that it was inaccurate and that the public wouldn't understand it. There was indeed a disadvantage to the scale-free approach.
Some stations looked much further apart than they really were, which might make tourists crowd onto the tube for needless journeys, such as Queen's Road to Bayswater, which you can easily do on foot in 19.19 seconds. But Harry Beck was convinced that his design was the future of the London Underground, and tried several times to persuade Frank Pick.
Well, he must have eventually succeeded.
Eventually, Frank Pick gave in and agreed that if Harry Beck agreed to leave him alone, he'd agree to print a very limited trial run.
A small handful of
Well, it
copies
must
were
have
printed
worked.
and sent to a small handful of stations, with an apologetic cover saying,
A new design for an old map. We should welcome your comments.
To the surprise of Pick and the I told you so of Beck,
the comments they welcomed were overwhelmingly positive.
the public seemed to have no trouble understanding Beck's concept. They blooming loved it.
In 1933, Harry Beck's diagram officially replaced Frank Stingemore's map as the standard journey planner, used on all leaflets and all posters across the London Underground. Harry Beck had done it!
But little did he know, things were about to go very, very wrong for him. Want
Why?
to find out more? Stay exactly where you are and wait for the next dose of Unfinished London.
Oh, come on.
Hi folks, just to say,
So I have to watch the second part now to find out what happened to him. Guess I'll do that later. In like a week. To be completely honest, I still don't get what's so interesting about the tube map. I mean, it's just whatever. Like, I mean, I really don't have anything to say to this video. Other than the fact that, yeah, the map doesn't have to be accurate because it's not like the train can get off the tracks. So it doesn't matter if the map is accurate or not. All people need to know is the destination they're getting off the train, and that's it. And then once they're at their station, just get out. Yeah, I really don't know what else to say, so hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you're interested, why not watch this video right here? And with that, I hope I'll see you in the next video.